Infill development and value add can come in a lot of shapes and forms. I'm going to take you through a project here that's like commercial, residential, retail, restaurants, shops. It's a lifestyle center that started out. I'm going to flip it around and kind of take you through this property here. So you can kind of see there's some retail shops, restaurants, a hotel in the background. You kind of turn it around this way and more retail strips, restaurants, and shops. And as we take a little stroll down here, this was an interesting development. So this started out where some investors put together a contract, tied up a 65-acre parcel here, and started creating a master plan. And the vision of this project was to create a lifestyle center with a movie theater. There's a big Regal movie theater here, shops, restaurants, just one of those outdoor lifestyle centers. And really what you have, what this ends up being, when it starts with dirt, the 65 acres, you create your site plan and you start that process and go through the approvals. Now this is a 10-year project in the making. This started about 10 years ago, and they probably paid, I don't know, $6 or $7 million for the land, took a few $1,000,000 to develop, and created all these pads. So what you basically end up with is you end up with a giant commercial, residential, mixed-use subdivision that has pads for these buildings. And then you come in and you go vertical on the pad. So whether it's a hotel pad, retail pad, there are apartments and townhouses that are part of this development. I'm going to turn the corner here in a second and come around. There's a Trader Joe's, all kinds of things here. It's just a really cool mixed-use development in a very busy corridor. So it started out with putting the land under contract, getting all the entitlements, taking it through the site planning process, and then that was sold to a developer. And the developer probably paid 20, 30 million bucks for the entitled project. And then they started the vertical, building all the buildings, leasing it up, getting the tenants. And on a project like this, you start with your anchor tenants, right? So your anchor tenants would be a Trader Joe's, it would be a Pier 1 Imports, it would be a movie theater, 14-screen theater, several key restaurants. So those are your anchor tenants that you're gonna have to give really good deals to, because they are the traffic drivers and the generators of traffic for a lifestyle center like this. There's an LL Bean here, as well as other retailers. So that developer, so this went from a land development entitlement flip to a development project where that developer took the project and went vertical and had it leased up over the years to about a 90% occupancy on the buildings that were built. And then they just recently sold it a couple of years ago to another investor, an equity fund, at 90% occupancy with some pad sites left for development. They sold it for $121 million. So this went from 6 to, I can't remember, it was 6 or 10 million for the land, a few $1,000,000 to get it entitled and ready for development, and some site work. Developers came in, they probably spent 50, 60 million bucks to get it to this point that you see right here. There's some other stuff that I'm not seeing that's out of our view. And then they got it to about 90%, but there's some excess land and pad spaces to be developed yet. And then they turned around and flipped it for $120 million. So that investor, they're an equity fund out of New York, they're going to take this and they're going to add value. So they are the value add component. So they're going to come in and develop out the rest of the pads, lease up the rest of the vacant space, swap out some of the lower local smaller tenants and put in more marquee anchor type tenants in here, the big regional and national chains. So there's a value add component to what they have done, and then they will probably turn around and sell it to a REIT or somebody like that once they finish their value add component. So this was a great case study of a vacant land lot entitlement flip to a vertical development to a value add with an exit to a REIT.